The triumvirate summit was a kind of spectacle the galaxy adored. Endless speeches, glowing banners, and the faint aroma of superiority. Every major empire had gathered to witness what they expected would be another human embarrassment. Captain Mara Yates stood at the center of the grand rotunda, under a dome so high it seemed to scrape the stars. Her uniform was simple, unadorned black, the only colorless thing in a hall dripping with gold and arrogance. Across the tiers, alien diplomats shimmered in every shade of condescension. The Varkun, scales gleaming like burnished copper, leaned toward each other and hissed laughter. Primitive species, one muttered, they still breathe oxygen. The moderator, a crystalline being whose voice chimed like breaking glass, addressed the chamber. Representative of Sol, you may begin your presentation. Mara exhaled once. Thank you, Chair Being. On behalf of the Terran Accord, I present Project Umbra. The phrase rippled through the chamber like static. Some delegates chuckled. Others whispered translations to aides, amused by the irony of humans naming something after darkness. Mara smiled thinly. Yes, we're aware of the meaning. 2 decks below, the ISS Venture Horizon hummed with energy. In the ship's control bay, Dr. Jianjie Quan crouched under a console, elbow deep in exposed circuitry. Sparks flashed. Remind me why this thing sounds like it's trying to eat itself, he grumbled. From across the room, Sergeant Marcus Rook, a leaned in his chair, feet up on the wall, polishing his pulse rifle. Because you built it, he said cheerfully. Jay rolled out from under the panel, eyes bloodshot and caffeinated. Correction, I reinvented space-time, with zero funding. And yes, apparently it growls. Elena Torres, their astrobiologist and ship's resident philosopher, looked up from a data terminal. Growling is appropriate, she said softly. We're about to show the universe something it doesn't understand. Rook snorted. Pretty sure the universe doesn't like being surprised. Jay smirked. Then it picked the wrong species to mock. Back in the summit chamber, Mara pressed her wristband. The lights dimmed. A holographic map of Sol System flared to life, glowing in layered shades of blue. Over the last 50 years, she said, humanity has studied dark matter, the invisible mass that shapes the universe. We learned to manipulate its resonance, to use its shadow, not its reflection. The room stirred. Impossible, hissed the Varkan general. Dark matter cannot be controlled. Mara's voice was calm. You're right. It can't be controlled. It can only be understood. And once you understand a thing, she paused, you can move through it. On the hologram, dark silhouettes emerged around Neptune's orbit, enormous ships, invisible to light yet outlined by distortion. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The moderator's crystalline facets pulsed nervously. You are claiming to have constructed vessels from dark matter? Not from, Mara corrected. Within, the material world bends around them. They're not just ships, they're shadows that learn to move. On the Venture Horizon, Jay gave a running commentary no one had asked for. Telemetry good. Drive stability 93%. Probability of existential catastrophe lower than usual. Define usual, Rook said. Jay grinned. Statistically non-zero. Elena leaned closer to the viewport. Beyond it, the dark matter fleet waited, sleek and spectral, their edges rippling against a void like smoke trapped in glass. They're beautiful, she whispered. Yeah, Rook replied. In a we just broke physics kind of way. Back at the summit, the laughter had stopped. The only sound was a low hum of the hollow projectors and the steady rhythm of Mara's voice. Humanity has always survived by improvisation, she said. We built homes from stone, then steel, then stars. Every law the universe handed us, we found a loophole, and today we offer proof. She gestured toward the hologram. Venture Horizon, you're live. Jay's voice came through the chamber speakers, bright with mischief. Copy that, Captain. Beginning Umbra drift in 3, 2, 1. From Neptune's orbit, reality flexed. The dark matter fleet rippled, their hulls blurring, as if the light around them were being quietly erased. Then, with a silent flash, they vanished. For a moment, the galaxy forgot how to breathe. The hologram displayed empty space. Even the translators paused, uncertain whether to describe what had or hadn't happened. Then the ships reappeared, not where they'd been, but beyond Jupiter's orbit, light years worth of distance in less than a heartbeat. Applause never came. Only stunned, reverent silence. The Varkun delegate rose, trembling with fury. You violated the laws of conservation. Jay's voice returned, perfectly calm. They were more like guidelines. The outburst turned into chaos, shouting in dozens of tongues, each trying to find the impossible. Morrow waited until the noise crested, then spoke softly, every word slicing through the clamor. We didn't build these ships to threaten anyone. We built them because exploration is written into our bones. Humanity doesn't conquer the stars. We learn them. Her voice dropped lower. But if you come for us, a pause, you'll find we've learned defense, too. The last words echoed to the rotunda, like the toll of a bell. Transmission ended. The hologram dimmed. On board the Venture Horizon, the crew exhaled collectively. Rook stretched. Well, that was subtle. Jay smirked. We just told the galaxy we bent space-time. Subtleties off the table. Elena stood near the viewport, eyes on the faint shimmer of the fleet in the distance. They'll never look at us the same way again. Mara's voice came through the intercom, calm, measured, but edged with something sharp. Good. Maybe now they'll actually see us. Outside, the void was still. The fleet floated in its own reflection, black against black, patient as a secret waiting to be understood. Elena whispered, more to herself than anyone else. They thought we were the galaxy's punchline. Jay looked up from his console, a tired grin tugging at his mouth. Then here's the twist. Mara's voice came through, final and steady. We were never the joke. And as the dark matter fleet drifted across the silence, the stars seemed to listen, and, for the first time in a very long time, they had nothing to say. The universe has a way of balancing all with consequence. 3 days after the demonstration, humanity's first message from the Galactic Council arrived. Not congratulations, not alliance, but an audit. The Varkun Dominion had filed an official accusation. Human violation of space-time integrity and potential existential threat to civilized order. In simpler terms, you broke the rules and now we're terrified. On board the ISS Venture Horizon, the bridge lights were dimmed to a working glow. Outside the viewport, the dark matter fleet hung silent. 20 ships suspended in the gravity well of Saturn's rings, each radiating a faint, unnatural ripple of light. Captain Mara Yates stared at the incoming communique, her reflection fractured across the holographic display. They want us to surrender the fleet for inspection, she said. By them, Dr. Jian J. Quan let out a dry laugh. Sure, let's just hand over the most advanced ships in history to a species that still thinks math is religion. Elena Torres didn't look up from her console. Maybe they just want to understand. Fear often wears a mask of authority. Rook leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, expression carved in sarcasm. And sometimes authority just wears a gun. Mara sighed. They're demanding compliance within 48 hours. If we refuse, Jay cut in, they'll blockade Seoul, and you know the council. They'll smile while they do it. The tension was electric, quiet but alive. Jay began pacing. We can't let them near the Umbra cores. Half their tech runs on superstition. If they poke around inside those drives, they'll tear holes in every law of physics that still works. Rook stood, his usual grin gone. So what's the play, Cap? Run? Fight? Hide? Mara looked between them. The soldier, the scientist, the dreamer. Neither, she said. We adapt. That's what we do best. Later, in the engine bay, the hum of the dark matter drives felt almost alive, like a giant heartbeat echoing in the metal. Elena crouched beside the containment ring, running her gloved hand along the pulsating surface. It shimmered faintly at her touch. It's growing, she murmured. Jay appeared behind her, coffee mug in one hand, datapad in the other. Not growing, he said. Evolving. The dark resonance is synchronizing with local quantum fluctuations, like it's learning. Learning. He nodded. Every time we use it, it adapts. which means we're flying ships that are starting to think. Elena's brow furrowed. You're saying the fleet is alive? Jay took a sip, grimaced. I'm saying we should start being polite to it. Rook's voice echoed from the catwalk above. You two do realize how creepy that sounds, right? That night, or what counted as night aboard the ship, the crew gathered in the observation dome. Outside, Saturn's rings gleamed like frozen fire. Mara stood at the center, her tone steady. The council's coming. They'll arrive in 20 hours. If we let them dock, they'll dismantle everything we've built. If we resist, they'll call it aggression. So we're trapped, Rook said. Elena tilted her head. Not trapped. Tested. Jay raised an eyebrow. You sound almost optimistic. I am, she said softly, because they underestimate what humanity does under pressure. Rook chuckled. Yeah, we improvise. Mara nodded slowly. Exactly. Jay, what's the one thing the council's ships can't do? He hesitated, then smiled faintly. Navigate dark space harmonics. Then that's where we'll go, she said. We'll vanish into the shadow between stars, into the spectrum they can't see. Jay blinked. You mean phase the entire fleet? Exactly, but not away deeper. Elena's voice dropped. Deeper into what? Mara looked out at the stars. Into whatever comes next. The preparations were frantic, but disciplined. Jay reconfigured the fleet's resonance fields, linking every ship into a single synchronized network. Elena monitored the biological stress readings of the crews. Rook oversaw the defensive grid, though his instincts told him it wouldn't be enough. Hours blurred. The Venture horizon thrummed as its dark matter core began to spin faster than light could register. Jay muttered, If this works, we'll rewrite interstellar travel forever. If it doesn't? Rook asked. Jay didn't look up. Then we'll be the most poetic smear in history. The countdown began. Mara's voice carried through the fleet-wide channel. Calm, resolute, unmistakably human. This is Captain Yates of the Venture Horizon. All ships, engage umbra sync on my mark. 3. Jay's fingers flew over the console, the hum of power rising. 2. Elena closed her eyes, whispering a quiet prayer to no one in particular. 1. The void bent, the dark matter fleet flickered, and the universe blinked. For an instant, every sensor in the council surveillance grid went dark. Light itself stuttered. To the outside world, the fleet simply disappeared. When the haze cleared, the Venture horizon floated in silence. The stars looked wrong, stretched distant, almost translucent. The space around them shimmered faintly, as though reality had been painted over twice. Jay checked his instruments. We're not in normal space anymore. Elena's eyes widened. Then where are we? Jay swallowed hard. Inside the dark spectrum. Rook peered through the viewport. The void outside wasn't black anymore. It pulsed faintly, like ink swirling through glass. Shapes moved in the distance, slow and deliberate, as if curious. Tell me those are just sensor echoes, he said quietly. Jay didn't answer. Elena whispered, We're not alone here. Mara's voice came through, steady but hushed. Stay calm. Observe. Record everything. Jay muttered, Captain, whatever that is, it's observing us too. The first signal hit them like a heartbeat to the hull, a vibration, deep and slow, resonating through metal and bone alike. Elena clutched her console. It's not an attack. It's communication. Jay's screen flared with unreadable patterns, fractal shapes, impossible equations that seemed to shift when stared at. They're talking in physics. Rook frowned. Can we talk back? Working on it. Mara's voice was calm, but something in her tone betrayed wonder. If dark matter isn't just material, if it's conscious. Jay interrupted. Then we just knocked on the universe's front door. The signal pulsed again, and the drives began to resonate in perfect sync. The ship shivered as though caught in a tide. Captain, Elena said quietly, I think it wants to see us. Mara hesitated. Then, softly, let it. The resonance flared, lightless and blinding all at once. Every ship's hull turned transparent, every atom visible as a ripple of energy. For a heartbeat, humanity and the shadow between stars looked directly at each other. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was gone. The fleet was back in real space, orbiting Titan once more. Rook blinked, disoriented. Did we just... Jay exhaled. Make contact? Yeah, and it didn't kill us. Elena smiled faintly. It didn't have to. It understood. Mara stared out at the stars. Voice low. We just met the dark side of creation, and it listened. She turned to her crew. The council will come for us now. Harder than before. They'll want to bury this. Rook smirked. Good luck catching ghosts. Mara allowed herself a small, dangerous smile. Then let's teach them what happens when humanity learns to haunt the stars. Outside, the fleet shimmered faintly, alive, waiting. Somewhere in the dark spectrum, something. The return to normal space wasn't gentle. It was violent, jarring, like being dropped back into a reality that no longer quite fit. The venture horizon shuddered as the last tendrils of the dark spectrum peeled away. Panels flickered, systems whined, and the air itself seemed confused about how dense it wanted to be. Status. Mara's voice cut through the chaos. Jay squinted at his console. We're alive, physics less so. Reactor harmonics are singing opera. Rook kicked the sparking conduit shut with a grunt. Let's hope it's a happy tune. Elena steadied herself against the bulkhead, eyes wide but calm. The dark matter signature hasn't faded. It's changed us. Our ships are emitting low-spectrum resonance. Jay frowned. You mean we're glowing in colors nobody can see? Exactly, Elena said. To the universe, we become visible and invisible at the same time. Rook smirked. So we're ghosts and fireworks. Perfect. The celebration lasted all of 10 minutes. Then the sensors caught movement, dozens of signatures bleeding out of the void. The Varkan fleet. They'd found them. Mara leaned over the holomap. How did they track us? Jay's tone turned grim. They didn't. They followed the echo. The dark spectrum pulse we triggered must have opened a trail they could ride. Which means, Elena said quietly, they saw what we saw. Rook's hands tightened around the rail. And now they want to erase it. Mara straightened. Battle stations. The order rang through the ship like a spark catching dry fuel. Sirens pulsed, crews scrambled, and the hum of the fleet grew deeper, more deliberate, as if the ships themselves sensed a coming storm. The Varkan formation unfolded in perfect symmetry, cold, beautiful, merciless. Their flagship loomed in the distance, a cathedral of dark metal crowned with living plasma. A transmission crackled through, a sharp, resonant voice layered in multiple tones. Human vessel, you have trespassed beyond lawful space and made contact with forbidden intelligences. You'll surrender your technology and submit to deconstruction. Rook muttered, deconstruction. Fancy word for we're going to vaporize you. Mara stepped forward. This is Captain Mara Yates of the Venture Horizon. Humanity has committed no crime. We seek knowledge, not conquest. The Varkan voice hissed, colder now. Knowledge is not yours to claim. Jay glanced at Mara. See, this is why we can't have nice galaxies. The first volley came without warning. Lances of gravitational fire tore through the void, bending light, shredding debris into ribbons of molten silver. The Venture Horizon twisted sideways, inertia dampeners screaming in protest, shields collapsing. Jay shouted, Umbra field destabilizing. Mara's voice was steady. All ships scatter formation. Don't give them a single target. Rook grinned, wild-eyed. Finally, something I'm good at. The fleet erupted into motion, each vessel slipping between dimensions, flickering like ghosts. The Varkan countered with spatial anchors, nets of magnetized gravity meant to pin them in place. Elena's hands danced over her controls. They're trying to trap us in real space. If that field solidifies, we're dead, Jay finished. I know. Then we don't let it solidify, Rook said, firing thrusters hard. Time to improvise. Improvisation was humanity's native language. Jay rerouted power from life support to the Umbra core. Risky, suicidal, brilliant. Rook, You ever wanted to fly a ship like it's having an identity crisis? Always. Good, because we're about to make physics cry. He triggered a phase inversion pulse. The fleet shimmered, not vanishing, but slipping sideways, existing half a second ahead of the Varkan timeline. Beams of energy passed harmlessly through them. Elena stared in disbelief. We're skipping time like stones on water. Rook hooped. We're untouchable. Jay grimaced. For now, each skip doubles the stress on the umber cores. We're burning reality as fuel. Mara's tone hardened. Then make every second count. They counterattacked, not with brute force, but precision. The fleet pulsed in synchronization, each ship's dark resonance amplifying the others. Invisible waves rolled through the void, distorting space around the Varkan ships. Elena's voice rose over the comms. Their formations are collapsing. The harmonics are scrambling their targeting systems. Jay was grinning like a madman. We're fighting with silence. They can't hit what they can't define. But victory, as always, came at a cost. The feedback loop began to spike. Umber drives resonating out of phase. Energy levels surged past safe limits. Captain, Jay warned, we're about to turn into our own gravitational anomaly. Mara's gaze stayed fixed on the tactical display. Hold the line. Rook slammed his fist on the console. With what? Duct tape and optimism? Exactly, Mara said. Then, amid the chaos, something extraordinary happened. The fleet's resonance stabilized, not from Jay's adjustments, but on its own. The dark matter cores pulsed in unison, as though responding to something unseen. Elena whispered, "They're helping us." Jay froze. "You mean the ships?" "No," she said. "The other side. The dark spectrum. It's feeding energy back into us." The umber field flared, luminous, soundless, immense. The fleet became a single living waveform. Jay's voice trembled with awe. "We're not fighting alone anymore." The next pulse shattered the Varkan line. Their anchors failed, ships imploding inward as space-time folded like paper. For a moment, the void glowed with impossible color. Light made a shadow, absence burning bright. Then silence. The battlefield was empty. The Varkan had fled, their transmission channels collapsing in static. Rook let out a long, shaky breath. "Please tell me we won." Jay leaned back, exhausted. "We didn't win. We survived creatively." Mara's voice softened. "Sometimes that's the same thing." The ship drifted quietly. Systems rebooted one by one. In the observation dome, Elena watched the stars flicker, each pulse echoing faintly with the fleet's heartbeat. "They helped us," she said again, more certain now. "The entities in the dark. They responded to us." Jay joined her, sipping what might have been coffee but tasted like burnt anxiety. "So, humanity reaches out into the unknown, gets attacked by cosmic fascists, and is saved by the literal void. That tracks." Rook chuckled, bruised but breathing. "At least the universe has taste." Mara entered quietly, arms folded. Her voice carried the weight of both command and quiet wonder. "Whatever we touched out there, it's listening now, and the galaxy knows it." Elena looked at her. "So what happens next?" Mara turned toward the stars, their cold light reflecting in her eyes. "They'll come again. The Council, the Varkan, all of them. They can't let us keep what we found." Jay asked softly, "And if they try?" She smiled, the kind of smile that belonged to a species too stubborn to bow. "Then we remind them," she said, "that humanity doesn't just survive the impossible. We build with it." Outside, the dark matter fleet floated in silence, halos of unseen light pulsing through the void. Each ship hummed faintly, alive, aware, waiting. The galaxy had thrown its fury at humanity and failed to break it. And somewhere in the black between stars, something vast and amused. Silence had weight. After the battle, it pressed against the hull like deep water. The stars outside seemed to hesitate, their light bending gently around the fleet, as though the universe itself was unsure how to touch what humanity had become. On the ISS Venture horizon, the crew worked in that silence. No cheers, no speeches, just quiet hands repairing what had nearly died. Captain Mara Yates stood on the bridge, her gaze steady but far away. "Report," she said. Dr. Jian J. Quan exhaled through his teeth. "Engines stable. Umbra core is at 70% capacity. We're technically operational, philosophically traumatized." Rook leaned against a console, arms crossed. "Translation, we're good to go, but nobody knows what we just did." Elena Torres looked up from her data pad, her expression unreadable. "We made contact, Captain. Not a dream, not a glitch, a genuine exchange. The entities from the dark spectrum are real." Mara turned. "And they didn't just help us," Elena said softly. "They adapted with us. The fleet isn't just powered by dark matter anymore. It's interwoven with it." Jay frowned. "Meaning what?" Elena hesitated. "Meaning we might not fully be human anymore. Not in the way we were yesterday." The silence returned, thicker now, full of awe and unease. When the message from the Galactic Council arrived, it broke that silence like a stone through glass. The holographic projection materialized midair, the crystalline moderator from before, now visibly fractured, each facet flickering with static. "Captain Mara Yates, the Council has reviewed your actions. Your fleet's technology constitutes a threat to the balance of the galaxy. You're ordered to surrender your ships for neutralization." Rook rolled his eyes. "Same song, different verse." Jay muttered. "Do they ever stop trying to confiscate things they don't understand?" Elena glanced at Mara. "They're afraid, Captain. We've changed the hierarchy. Fear's their only language." Mara stepped forward, her voice calm but unflinching. "Moderator, humanity will not surrender. We've reached beyond your boundaries, not to destroy, but to learn. If that terrifies you, then perhaps it's time you remember why you stopped exploring." The moderator's facets dimmed. "You will be isolated, contained. The galaxy cannot tolerate chaos." Mara smiled faintly. "Then maybe it's time the galaxy learned to evolve." The transmission cut off. Jay rubbed his forehead. "Well, that's that. We're officially persona non grata in half the known systems." Rook grinned. "Could be worse. We could be boring." Mara ignored the banter, her eyes fixed on the distant blue glow of Earth, faint across the black. "They'll blockade Sol next. The Varkan will lead it. The Council will pretend it's diplomacy." Elena leaned on the console beside her. "Then we don't wait for them to come. We show them what humanity looks like when it leads." Mara turned. Meaning we show them the truth." Elena said. "Broadcast it. The recordings, the resonance patterns, the contact. Let every civilization see what we found in the dark." Jay's head snapped up. "You're suggesting we leak a universe-altering discovery to the entire galactic network." "Exactly." Rook laughed. "I like her style." Mara didn't. Not immediately. But slowly, a smile curved her lips, tired, dangerous, hopeful. "Make it happen," she said. It took hours to prepare. Jay built encryption layers so intricate, they practically hummed with smugness. Elena compiled the transmission, raw footage of the fleet's transformation, the resonance data, and the indescribable moment of first contact, when the void had spoken back. Rook loaded defense grids, knowing every major power would trace the signal and come running. "This is going to start wars," he warned. Elena shook her head. "No, this is going to start questions. That's worse for them." When the transmission was ready, Mara stood before the main console. "Send it." Elena pressed a key. The signal pulsed outward, invisible, unstoppable. It leapt between relay satellites, through wormholes, across entire constellations. Within hours, every empire, every council, every forgotten colony received it. 1 billion species watched the same impossible thing. Humanity's fleet shimmering in the dark, merging with light that shouldn't exist, and something vast, unseen, responding. The reaction was immediate. Some called it heresy. Others called it hope. 12 border wars froze mid-battle as soldiers stopped to stare at their comms. In the galactic archives, priests wept, scientists screamed, children pointed at the sky. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy was united, not in order, but in wonder. And in that wonder, the guns went quiet. Back aboard the Venture Horizon, Jay leaned back in his chair, listening to the flood of transmissions. "Congratulations, Captain. You just broke the galaxy's internet." Rook grinned. "We should print T-shirts." Elena looked exhausted but radiant. "It's worth it. They'll come for us, yes, but not as predators, as students." Mara stood silently for a long moment. Then she said, "Maybe that's the only kind of victory that matters." Jay raised a brow. "You think they'll understand what they saw?" "No," Mara said, "but they'll try, and that's enough." Hours later, the crew gathered in the observation dome one last time. The stars outside seemed brighter now, their light bending subtly toward the fleet, drawn to it, not repelled. Elena placed a hand against the viewport. "The dark isn't empty anymore." Rook tilted his head. "Was it ever?" Jay smiled, small but genuine. "We just finally learned to listen." Mara stood behind them, the weight of command softened by something deeper. Pride, maybe, or peace. "Humanity's always been loud," she said. "Too curious, too reckless, too alive. The galaxy tried to silence us." "And failed," Jay added. She nodded. "Because we don't conquer. We create, even from shadows." Then the fleet moved, slowly, elegantly, like a tide turning. Each ship glowed with faint inner light. Not the harsh glare of engines, but something gentler, like moonlight filtered through water. Their umber drives hummed resonant and steady. Mara spoke quietly into the comms. Her voice carried across every ship. "To all who can hear us, this is humanity. We walked into the dark and found light, waiting there. Not a weapon, not a god, but understanding. If you fear us, don't. We're still learning. We just finally met something willing to learn with us." The transmission ended. Jay glanced at her. "So what now, Captain?" She smiled. "Now we go where no one's dared to look. Into the places even the dark forgets." Elena chuckled softly. Still explorers at heart. "Always," Mara said. The Venture Horizon turned, and the rest of the fleet followed. Black ships with silver hearts, vanishing one by one into the quiet beyond the known stars. Behind them, the galaxy whispered, not with fear, but curiosity, the oldest sound in creation. And somewhere in that endless hush, something vast and unseen whispered back,